Namaskar and good evening to all. A very warm welcome to all our viewers. Welcome to our today's evening session of the Virasat Talk program. Today it's our 75th edition of the Virasat Talk program being organized by Intangible Cultural Heritage Department of Heritage Society, Patna. And it is indeed my honor and pleasure to welcome our distinguished and eminent speaker for today's session, Dr. Meena Gautam ma'am, who has already joined us. Welcome you, ma'am, to our today's lecture program. It is our honor to see you here. Madam Speaker will be today delivering a lecture on the topic, the archives today, challenges before the archivists of the 21st century. A very interesting topic and a very relevant topic for today's time. In fact, in an age when we are continuously creating more and more archives through digital platforms and through many other ways, so archives are now moving out of the regular spaces and coming out to many different platforms. So it's a very interesting topic, and I'm looking forward from the ma'am to hear her. But before moving to the program, which will begin very shortly, let me take this opportunity to very briefly welcome and introduce our speaker, madam, for those who are first time joining our program. So, Madam Speaker is currently director and member at Archival Advisory Board of National Archives Institute, Ministry of Culture, and International Council of Archives, former director at the National Mission of Monuments and Antiquities. Dr. Meena Gautam ma'am have done her BA in history, post-graduation with a specialization in modern Indian history, and PhD on communal politics in India from the University of Delhi, a very premier institute of India located in Delhi. After a very small stint as a lecturer teaching history for 3 years in Delhi University colleges, she joined National Archives of India as archivist in 1977. After that, she has more than 34 years of working experience in National Archives of India at the senior supervisory level before joining National Mission on Monuments and Antiquities in 2014 as director. She has also authored several books. Some of the very important among them are Indian Communal Politics, and Handbook of Information on National Archives of India under RTI 2005. Both of the books have widely been received by audience all over the world. She has also published a large number of reputed research papers in reputed journals of national and international repute. She has been serving as a member in several advisory boards of several leading organizations all over the world. She has also served as the head of National Archives at the School of Archival Studies, and also she has undertaken collaboration with several ministries, departments, state archives, and public sector undertaking to conduct several programs related to training program and other things in the field of archives and record management. She has also attended several international conferences and has traveled widely all over the world. She has given her deliberations at National Archives in Canada, International Institute for Archival Science of Dresky and Maribor in Italy, at the Netherlands National Archives, British Library, Public Record Office in London, in National Archives of South Korea, in Manchester, and at several other leading universities such as Toronto University, Stockholm University, in Mexico, in Seoul, in Adelaide. So she has such a wide range of experience traveling all around the world. It's in fact an honor for us to have her in our today's session, and today we have an opportunity to hear her. She has also been appointed by ICHR as Nodal Officer and Resource Person, besides members of Expert Committee for the workshop on Indo-German workshop on culture of archival research in Germany and India. She has also supervised several doctoral and postdoctoral scholars in different places. She has served as member of Archival Advisory Board in International Council on Archives and as a project director of the project Archival Education in India an All India Perspective, which is a 2-year project funded by ICHR with an objective to promote archival education in India. Today, indeed, it is a great opportunity for us, for all of us to hear her. So, without taking much time, I would request Madam Speaker to begin the session. Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining us.
Thank you, Azad, for such a detailed introduction that you have provided me. Thank you for that. And I'm really thankful and grateful to the Heritage Society that they've given me this opportunity to talk about archives, whereas you discuss about heritage of the ancient Indian history, culture, archaeological findings, and museums, etc. But since this digitization is taking place in all the areas, including museums, archives, and other fields, so my today's topic is archives today and challenges before the archivist of the 21st century. May I start with the presentation also? So if you can share the screen. क्या करना है? हाँ, click presentation. Is it okay right now, Azad? May I start?
Yes, ma'am. We are able to see your presentation, ma'am.
Okay. Now, as you see the title slide, the archives today challenges before the archivists of the 21st century. So, the 21st century is a century of digital archiving. As we all know, information is being generated digitally. Institutions such as archives, libraries, and museums have digital collections having contents born digital or being digitized. The way an archivist manages physical archives with different methodologies developed over time, it cannot help much in managing digital archives. So it's so easy now to copy, transfer, and repackage the digital information on paper or any other conventional format. It is not possible with archives having paper records. Risk factors are greater with digital records. As we all know, it is not easy to preserve or provide access to information over a long term without upgrading our technology being used for preserving that digital content. A user wants access to information with contents online, which is, however, not possible in every case. The whole process is a tedious exercise for an archivist, including designing and implementing the work of selecting, creating, acquiring, describing, and and delivering access to digital collections. The whole process requires re-engineering, I must say, of the whole system in an official government setup and its management practices. Hence, there is a very big challenge that we see to make information available online to research scholars and people at large, especially in view of RTI, right to information, and that on a long term basis in relation to our digital and digitized collections in all our cultural institutions. So, understanding these aspects and the ability to conceptualize archival ideas and practices, which is an essential part of the 21st century archival work. So, archivists are still coming to terms with the information revolution and need to embrace the colleagues who dares to look beyond. So, these are some of the issues that I'm going to discuss in my this presentation and the few slides that I'm going to share with my participants who have joined this lecture session. Now, digital archiving is going to be a very big challenge to official and other archivists, and clearly an issue of the 21st century. At the same time, we have to find ways and means, solutions to digital archiving, preservation of digital information, and accessibility in the future. Now, UNESCO adopted a charter on the preservation of digital heritage at its 32nd session of the General Conference on 17th October 2003, and the Charter highlighted the vulnerability of global digital heritage and set out strategic actions required to mitigate threats to the survival of digital heritage. The Charter focused on public policy and advocacy issues and gave direction to UNESCO member countries in developing their own national strategies. Many member countries of the UNESCO have adopted the Charter and developed their strategies and policies, but India is far behind. And I must say that we in National Archives started only after 2000 AD when we had developed our website. And the charter is relevant even today, and it calls for collaboration across all cultural institutions to cooperate and share efforts being made in the field. But sadly, we find India many such cultural institutions such as museums, archives, and other heritage institutions are working in isolation. Despite many common issues being faced by them, so far as their digital collections are concerned, that to ensure their preservation and access to people at large. Continuity of digital heritage is fundamental and calls for action to be taken throughout the life cycle of a digital file from creation to access. We need to develop such long-term policies, practices, and systems to ensure survival of digital records. Archivists, curators will have to deal with these challenges in a mission mode and would have to strategize and make coordinated efforts to address these issues. The foremost issue is the availability of financial resources, skilled staff, and the need of awareness among community and stakeholders of the importance and urgencies of the challenges being posed by these digital collections. And of course, archives have contributed greatly to the field of development of management of digital collections and their preservation. This includes digital appraisal, digital metadata schemes, digital preservation, accessibility, framing of policy guidelines, and the need to develop best practices for implementing digital archiving. Understanding the history of archival science is very critical and essential in charging out where we are heading in the age of technological advancement. And challenges before the archivist of the 21st century are many and complex. The information revolution has proved to be a turning point vis-a-vis people's right to information. The ability to conceptualize archival ideas and practices is now essential part of the 21st century archival work. Archivists are still struggling to come to terms with the information revolution and technology and need to embrace the colleagues who dare to take a look beyond. And archival traditions span thousands of years. And when we use that knowledge and advanced technology with socio-cultural change in the field, it produces a big challenge. And questions are posed. What are those questions? What could be the role of official archives in political and social control? And secondly, why archival science needs to achieve a global perspective for the 21st century. Now, in historical and cultural perspective, we look into much is inherited from colonial archives, our archival legacy from British government for administrative convenience, and have continued some traditional practices, particularly in the field of revenue, policing, and land administration. Following their archival and record keeping systems over our local and indigenous traditions, this is more an act of administrative control and convenience and supremacy. Subsequently, what emerged was an integrated system of both traditional and modern practices as the circumstances demanded. Now, today, official archives at the center The official archives at the center within India caters to the administrative requirements of the union government. Similarly, also in the state governments, The first priority is, of course, the union government, and equally true of the state and other institutional archives that we talk about. This is a challenge to all archivists and how best to explore and project their collections to spread archival awareness and encourage more diverse use of archives. Not only important for education and research that we all know, crucial are also for the protection of human rights and accountability purposes, depending on the nature of these activities. This makes the task of an archivist more difficult as one is expected to network and present archival holdings more smartly with the help of ICT, such that they are accessible politically, culturally, and linguistically too, in order to empower the common man within the country and not to mention globally. With the development of ICT, that is information, communication, and technology, since we started to automate archival activities only in the first decade of the 21st century, we archivists started developing networking archival information in terms of our own institutions and users only. That is the research scholars that we are trying to cater to in the respective archives and institutional archives. But now the challenge of the current century is to maximize information online, exposing all our holdings and accessible to make it accessible globally. Efforts are being made, but there is still a long way to go. There is need to redefine the definitions and principles of archival sciences. We are losing control over than in digital world, that I must say. The e-manual of office procedure and public record act of 1993 says records shall be transferred after 25 years. Digital records, they may be transferred after 25 years, but practically if we analyze this, we are still left with the question, will the digital archive survive that long? So this is something which that we need to ponder over. Archivists are struggling, and before it is too late for them to realize whether their ideas change the world or the fourth revolution rendered them unrecognizable. They are being overshadowed by IT experts. That's why, because most of the digitization work that is going on in National Archive that I belong to, and since 1998 we started this process, digitizing. But what about those records which are being born digitally? That is equally we need to address. Of course, government is making a lot of efforts, and something I will discuss subsequently. And we archivists who are trained in our traditional form of archives or conventional archives that we are managing and catering to, we need to learn a lot so that we are able to handle on our own than depending on the people that we are outsourcing on contractual basis, the agencies we are using for this digitization purpose, and to even preserve our the digital data. They are being, and we are being overshadowed rightly by these IT experts. So, hence, there is a need to address emerging information management issues along with ongoing challenges and opportunities offered by modern technology in the form of e records, covering all activity areas of the government and the society. For the successful implementation of right to information, firstly, it is necessary to implement, I must say, the Public Record Act and Public Record Rules of 1993 and 1997 in true spirit. Theoretically, when we talk about the law, has definitely facilitated the government to legislate through force of law with the preservation of records and management of information contained therein in all the three stages that we all archivists and record management students, we know that is current, semi-current, and the non-current stage, because records only reaches archives when they enter the third stage, the non-current. But there are ways and means, that's how we control the creation and transfer records to national archives, because that is a very long process which I am not going to address, but I think most of the people they know. And it has also facilitated the reception of records as per right and legitimate authority, and to provide access to people as the procedures laid down under the Public Record Act and rules. But in practice, while we see, however, the story is quite different. It still remains a recommending body, the archives. And in the absence of any regulatory mechanism, under RTI we have CIC. But under the Public Record Act, we have no such authority to regulate the defaulter ministries and the departments for non-compliance of the various provisions of the Public Record Act and rules. And thereby we are losing a lot of data if they are not being transferred as per procedure in time. The Act needs drastic amendments towards an amendment of Public Record Act and rules of the 1993 and 1997, and equally to harmonize with the right to RTI Act and the IT Act of 2000. A report was submitted in August 2011, and I had the privilege to be the member secretary of this both review panel and the consultative committee, and the report was submitted, which was constituted for the purpose by the Government of India as per recommendation of the Archival Advisory Board, a statutory body constituted under the Public Record Act, but still sadly, there has been no follow-up action, because the report was submitted to the advisory board also, but since 2013, the meeting of the advisory board has not taken place. And sadly, there is no follow-up action, and which we need to expedite and take. Now, access is now being given. Sorry, just to go. Now, access is being given to any user visiting archives on production of an ID proof in compliance of the RTI, because we cannot deny access to the information under RTI, so we have to comply with that. Much responsibility falls on the shoulders of the archivist and the record managers in the public authorities to generate information and bring transparency in their operations. Hence, record management practices should be such, they are very crucial, that they support decision making by making information easily available to all the public functionaries and the users when they require, in order to perform their action and take decisions. Records are the building blocks that we all know for right to information, reliable evidence of activities of an organization to help them in justifying the decisions and action and use of resources by that organization. Now, record management not only minimizes those who know that what is record management and how it helps in creation control and managing our record management and control the creation and the right kind of records are preserved and not allowed to survive for the period longer than they are required in a government organization or in any organization, because it is applicable in both the public sector and the private sector, or in a corporate or anywhere. This record management is very important, as it is an important aspect on office administration. So it helps in minimizing the risks associated with the non-availability of information, but also ensures the maintenance of records of significance. The uppermost requirements at present is perhaps that of a well-defined record management system and rules for management of digital records by a public authority, streamlining the record management practices as desired under Section 4 of the RTI in a more serious and efficient manner. Section 4.1b has not been fully complied with by all the public authorities, and it requires not only suo motu declaration of information, but it's updating as well on regular basis. Of course, we have the medium nowadays, websites are there, and most of the organizations have put maximum information on the website, and I must say it is really a very good sign. And the manner in which information is being available is also equally crucial, as currently, as we see, that 50% of the population in India have access to the internet, against 57% globally. And another challenge is that management of information being generated in the form of electronic records and how to make them accessible by having an RTI friendly e-record management system to be followed by the public authorities in line with the provisions of the Public Record Act and the Public Record Rules. The uppermost requirement at present is perhaps well defined rules for implementing all the sections relating to RTI, and in particular section 41A, C, and D, and to merge the Office of Public Record Officer and of the PIO. This is something which I am talking about because if they are working together in collaboration, they can ensure a survival of information and accessibility also. To merge the Office of Public DRO and Public Information Officer under PRA and rules and RTI also respectively, there is need to firm up responsibilities of the record managers also, because even at the lowest level of the section, section officers should be equally responsible, as all the bureau division section level is done in case of a public information officer for management of information in the current files. And this may be done on the basis of standardized record management practices based on documentation practices as elaborated or given in the manual of office procedure. And of course, for the paperwork and complying at the same time with the e-manual also, I must say. And complying at the same time with the provisions of Public Record Act rules and the right to information. Also, compliance of all these act and rules and regulations is equally important. There is also the need to prepare a roadmap for implementation of e-record management as part of e-governance process, enabling users to access information and services generated on account of digital communication. Now, IT Act of 2000, Section 4 and 5, under Section 4 and 5, it recognizes authenticity of electronic record, electron, electronic form, material, digital signatures, electronic messages, besides conventional documents. And we are seeing that during this period of corona pandemic, and how we are virtually working, and right now we are talking to each other also online. Just we can see each other, hear each other, and even court hearings are taking place. So that is when we have to give them the due weightage and trust as evidence. And support establishment and maintenance state under this, I must say, the government policy is to establish for maintenance of these kind of digital data and maintenance of is by establishing state data centers, SDC, and have been identified as one of the important element of the core infrastructure, because for these kind of services we need support system also, and we need infrastructure also, we need besides technology connectivity also, that is availability of the Wi-Fi and those kind of facilities for supporting e-governance initiatives of the government of India through various dedicated portals. Now, further, it would be necessary to consolidate applications and infrastructure to provide efficient electronic delivery of G2G, that is government to government, G2C, and G2B services. These services can be rendered by the states through common delivery platforms, seamlessly supported by core connectivity infrastructure such as statewide area networks and common service centers, with the connectivity extended to even village level, that is the panchayats. Now, SDCs would provide much functionality like the central repository of the state, secure data storage, online delivery of services, citizen information service portal, state intranet portal, disaster recovery, remote management, and things like that. Now, think I'm not skipping some of the information. Yes. Now, much scope lies within the emerging archives in public, private, and corporate sectors. And as while doing the field work for my project on archival education in India, I had the opportunity to visit a number of such emerging archives, and not only in corporate sector, scientific institution, universities, colleges, and I've been able to see that there are different kind of emerging archives, and they need this kind of support, and they need people also to work and and help them. So lies there is so much of scope lies within the emerging archives in public, private, and corporate sectors. We have to visualize our policies beyond our national borders, as archives have global clientele also besides national or local, even at local level, at state level, national or international level. The sharing of information through networking of archival institutions is one of the major challenges to the archives in the digital world of the 21st century, and service integration. Now, these SDCs would be very crucial and would provide better operation and management control and minimize overall cost of data management. Now, IT resource management, deployment of other costs, and other costs, there is need for integrating record management in ICT systems. Modules may be developed as tools, top eight public authorities to follow, and could even provide good practice indicators in this field. Now, even government, I must say, of course, not no longer part of the system, but I keep meeting my colleagues in the archives and they keep discussing with them that they're trying to introduce e-office. That means to work online, and this is just in a very infant stage. And we hope that in due course of time we will be able to have a very good mature system. The Department of Information Technology has formulated guidelines to provide technical and financial support to the states for setting up SDCs. Besides office automated management and electronic record system, support system is also equally required to ensure easy storage, processing, and quick retrieval of information by all relevant functionaries, leading to overall efficiency and productivity in management. For application of e-records management, supporting e-office procedures are to be adopted as were given manuals and guidelines. Of course, I have one or two slides for the conclusion, but besides, I have a little more to discuss about some international practice on open preservation foundation and other things after completing my one or two slides, and I think I have enough time also for that. And we have challenges in the field, as we say, we require manpower also. Without human resource, how can we work on these things, you know? And the kind of challenges we have is in the field of education and training. And India has, I must say, has yet to make a beginning. And I am sorry to point it out, International Council on Archives brought out an directory of such kind of archival education training institutions all over the world. And there are only three countries from Asia, that is Israel, China, and Japan. And India is missing. And we are one of the, you may say, National Archives of India has been conducting training courses since 1942. And we don't figure anywhere. And why this sad state of affairs? Of course, in due course, when I'll be sharing my outcome of the project, and many of these things and issues have been addressed in my project report. But for this lecture purpose, since I will not go into many details, and we have challenges in the field of education and training too, because we find that historians, they want to use archives for their historical research and any other kind of research purpose, but they feel sorry to support archival education in a university setup because they don't accept archives as part of the historical research. And sadly, so they want to use archives, but they don't want to support archives. If they, we need to, produce skilled manpower to manage, sustain these archival institutions. Because if we are not able to manage and sustain this kind of information for historical research for future scholars, that means we are not managing our documentary heritage, because heritage doesn't include only tangible and intangible heritage, it also includes our documentary heritage also. And we need to give them due weightage like any other kind of education and training in the country. And China has made a lot of progress. European countries have made a lot of progress. Of course, Western countries, all modern archival systems, they have this kind of training along going on along with their information, the science, library science, and other. Even I must say that it is such a subject of study that we should not shy away from introducing these kind of training courses as full-fledged courses, which I think in due course government of India will take note of it and do something. Now, in the field of education and training, the necessity we need there is a necessity to have trained and skilled manpower. And India have yet to make a beginning, I must say, in spite of having School of Archival Studies since 1942. Our innovative and visionary activities need to be reflected in the field of archival education and must address the societal changes and changing information technology, which is also changing the creation of the records and thus demand new methods of archival education. And we introduced ICT only in 2005 and 6 in School of Archival Studies. We started our lecturing and modernizing our education system in National Archives only after 2005 and 6 when we introduced ICT with the help of NIC. They really helped us in developing the curriculum, introducing the paper. First is an optional paper, but students knew it and they wanted to study only ICT, so we made it a core paper in due course. And we established a computer lab also, and all those facilities so that our students are able to at least handle the computers, the basics they were learning and trying to do, use the system as much as possible. And I'm happy to see that now, of course, everybody knows how to do it, and digital archiving. And a lot of progress has made in National Archives also to make the information digitally accessible online. But how to manage? Are we going to only manage the information through contractual sources, the two, three with the people only? We have the two posts of joint additional director general for IT, but we don't have any support system below. Only our micro photographers are helping to manage these kind of services, and we are depending, of course, till date through outsourcing, which is a very sad state of affairs, and we need to address this. And our innovative and visionary activities, they need to reflect in the field of archival education and must address the changes that are taking place in changing information technology, which is also changing the creation of the records, and thus demand new methods of archival education. Archivists should not be oriented in the past, maintaining the traditional records, but have to think how to deal with archives and digital and digital records in the future. However, to be able to do this, proper education is necessary. Now, universities in India need to modernize and update their curriculum and syllabus, keeping in view the development advances being made in the information technology for conservation, maintenance, and use of records born digitally and other digitized collection, and to make them accessible. I'm happy I think many of my colleagues, they know about it, that UGC scheme is there, that they have introduced at the undergraduation level one paper, optional paper on archives and museums, at least to make our students of history understand what is archives and what is museum. Because otherwise, the people know museums, but they hardly know anything about archives. Because in case if one has to visit National Archives, nobody knows where is it's located. Because we have to tell them, oh, it's the opposite Indira Gandhi National Center of Arts, and it's just adjacent to Shastri Bhavan. It's things like that, because that should not be the state of affairs, and we should be identified as we are archives. And universities in India, they need to, and at post graduation level also, many of the universities, including Delhi University, doesn't have a proper paper on archival teaching. They teach historical methods, how to use material in archives for their historical research, but they don't teach proper kind of archival science as a subject. So that is something which we need. And of course, I was happy that Tumkur University near Bangalore, they have introduced one paper, and they are teaching and taking care of teaching the subject in a proper manner. And I was happy to interact with the students and the faculty. They are taking care of it. Now, universities in India, they need to modernize and update their curriculum and syllabus, keeping in view the development advances being made in information technology for conservation, maintenance, and use of records born digitally and other digitized collections, and to make them accessible. Now, just I, as a part of this project, I happened to visit all the three universities in Delhi: Jamia Millia Islamia, JNU, and Delhi University also. In the name of archives, if I say, I'm sorry to say that kind of official archives of the university is not being maintained anywhere. There, nobody is able to answer where the official records are. Of course, Delhi University has managed to keep many of their records, not files as such, but published material, and I must say their annual reports and other kind of material is there. They have a very good museum. 1857, and highlighting some of the important Delhi, I must say that revolt in 1857 that has taken place. In Jamia, of course, it is the controller of examiner. Of all this information I could gather only from their website. At least they have digitized and put all the information, ordinances, etc. online. That's how I could get to know that what kind of record management policies are being pursued in all these three university institutions in the name of archives. And JNU, of course, archives is there, but that cater to most of the history and the collections of the left party of India. I'm happy to say that at least in the name of archives, they have archives, but they need to maintain and manage their official archives also centralized at one place, because it's all scattered. When all the departments, they are managing their own records, nobody knows how to manage and centralize their archives, university archives. Whereas some colleges too, like I have heard that IP College and Indraprastha College, which is one of the oldest colleges when the Delhi University was established in 1922. It was one of the colleges affiliated to Delhi University besides St. Stephen's. They have developed their archives, but I could not access their archives also because it's being managed by a history teacher, and nobody knows kind of archives they have. I was not allowed even access them. It's under renovation, being managed like that, you see. And I must say the records regarding, if one would like to study the history of the establishment of these three universities, because they are one of the, all of them are the oldest university as we know about. The records are available in National Archives of India, which I could gather through their portal, and that is Abhilekh Patel online. data is available which one can access as per the procedure, and catalog sort of kind of catalog to the records available in National Archives online. So these universities also, I may request me kindly look into it and develop and introduce these courses and use their archives as a ground for practical purposes for teaching their students and to have a feel of archives. Of course, National Archives is always there to collaborate with any of them, provided they also keep their interest alive. Because my study reveals that it's not that we have not been trying to get affiliated with any of these universities since the starting of this training course in 1942, and the records speak for it. But sadly, none of the universities ever gave any kind of attention to these. Even the proceedings of the Indian Historical Records Commission talk about it elaborately. Resolutions were adopted, but things are not the way they should be. So they need to introduce these courses, modernize their curriculum as part of the studies, particularly in history department. And Indian archivists minimum exposure. Our Indian archivists have minimum exposure nationally and internationally compared to archivists of the other European and Asian countries. And I'm happy to share that last year, one of our students from the School of Archival Studies, Priyanka, was selected by ICA as a young professional to be part of the ICA International Conference at Adelaide in 2019, and which I am a member, and I was happy to see her there and be with her, give her all kind of moral support, and at least we got represented internationally for the first time. That I was happy to see. Otherwise, uh, none had so far represented India at such an international platform. Now, we need to promote also mapping of archives and archival institutions in India to understand the requirement, how we need this kind of manpower, and of course, we need to create some employment opportunities also. If we are training them, we need to give them employment opportunities also. And without mapping of these archival institutions in the country and what kind of institutions we have and the kind of their requirements are, because some of the corporate archives like Godrej Archives located in Bombay, they say the training being provided at National Archives doesn't fulfill all their requirements. Banking sector also, like RBI and other kind of DCM archives, I must say, scientific institution archives. And this is one of the reasons why we have opened the course, diploma course in archival studies to the students of all the streams. There were 20 seats, but now there are 30 seats, so that all kind of training and disciplines get represented there, trained there, and the kind of training we provide. Of course, we need to modernize further our curriculum to fulfill all these kind of requirements, and we need to do the mapping of these archives and archival institutions. This kind of work was done once by the National Archives while we were developing guide to records in National Archives under a UNESCO project, and we had developed one kind of directory of such institutions, but that was way back in 1990s, I must say, and this has not been updated. And there are so many archives emerging, not only scientific institutions, gender archives are emerging. Even the archives of the architecture kind of an online digital of course, archives are there. And these new archives, they demand new kind of training, and which of course National Archives of India has to look into and upgrade their curriculum accordingly and modernize it, so that we are able to provide this kind of training and also promote employment of our trained archivists. At least with this ICT and one paper on business in private archives, which we had introduced in 2006 as a specialization paper, our students have been able to at least get employment in banking sector and this kind of corporate and business archives. At least they get a proper kind of training at least, and they do study visits also these institutions every year. they are allowed officially to go, and they are sponsored by the National Archives and funded by them. And they need to know what kind of archives we have and the kind of training they need, and so that they know the employment opportunities also. Now, this kind of a project that has been taken up by IGNCA and Indira Gandhi National Center for Arts, and it's an autonomous organization under Ministry of Culture, and they have taken up this UNESCO project of similar nature, mapping of archives in India, and as part of UNESCO Project Memory of World program, being the nodal center for implementation of the MOW program in India, and credit must go to Dr. God. He's a professor there and dean, and he's doing a very good work in this regard. And further, we need to promote the study of archival science in the university system as an independent subject also, but also as an interdisciplinary subject, and needs to be integrated along with the study of library and information science. Simultaneously, there is need to promote archives and other heritage institutions as a dignified career option. This is very, very important, because archivist is being looked down upon. Yeah, what kind of service are you belong to? And earlier, I must say, we were a part of the education service, and people were getting employed from there also, because many of our directors had belonged to this service, but education service was abolished. And why can't we generate, and we can have a dedicated service of archivist like any other service that we have? And of course, we need to work out on this. And librarians and Simon, they need to promote archives, other heritage as a dignified career option, whether one would like to work in a museum or in archives or Archaeological Survey of India, both professionally and financially. It should be a dignified career option, and people should join these institutions not out of compulsion, but as a matter of choice. That should be the motto that we need to promote, and much scope lies. I'm sorry to say that every time I speak about it, there is a lot of scope lies within this emerging archives and museums in public, private, and corporate sectors, and we are not looking into it. And we have to visualize our policies beyond our national borders, as archives and all heritage institutions have global clientele. And the sharing of information through networking of all these institutions is the major challenge to the archives in the digital world of the 21st century. Now, I think I have 5 minutes or 10 minutes to go. Azad? So, just there are some international projects going on for preservation of these kinds of information. Yes, and you want to say something? Shall I continue?
Yes, ma'am. Please continue, ma'am.
Okay. Now, I must say there are some international organizations like Open Preservation Foundation, and I'm happy to say that November 5th was celebrated as a Digital Preservation Day. And this Open Preservation Foundation is a global organization, non-profit organization, and they are working to advance some kind of developing standards to solutions for long-term preservation of digital records, and they've taken steps, and many of the international institutions are becoming members, and they have taken steps. Digital information life cycle and just referred it yesterday only. I could gather released that they've released second group of e-archiving specification procedures and guidelines for community feedback. The aim of the e-archiving is to provide the core specification, software, training and knowledge to help data creators, software developers and digital archives to tackle the challenges of short-term, medium and long-term data management and reuse in a sustainable, authentic, cost-efficient, manageable, and interoperable way. And this is something which they are doing. Of course, itself it's a very big thing, which of course I don't have much time to share here, except that how it helps, in sharing the information is very important, that they are building a dynamic and mutually supportive digital preservation community. And recently, one year, South African University has become member of this. And because we keep getting these kind of information through ICA portal, being the member, and a political and institutional climate, they are developing more, which is more responsive and better informed about the digital preservation challenges. Workforces that are ready to address the challenge of the digital preservation, high quality and sustainable digital preservation services, good practice and standard that make digital preservation achievable, and a sustainable, competent organization focused on member needs. Those who can become its regular members or associate members, one can always visit their website and gather this kind of information. Even they are helping financially also, many of these institutions, those who are becoming members, not only sharing the knowledge and information, they're sharing the resources also. And equally, our UNESCO, some projects are also going on for preservation of digitized information or digital information. IC is also doing a lot of work. And besides, we in India, we need to do a lot together, not only in isolation, but to sit together and work together. And not only we need to collaborate with record management, record managers, and archivists, record managers, the web administrator, and IT expert. We all four of us has to sit together if we have to work for the organization, or the government policies are, of course, they are also doing a lot for this. And I must thank the government also. Recently, I think one announcement was made in the recent budget the presentation by our Honorable Finance Minister, that they are going to develop one cultural university. And National Museum Institute, the deemed university, perhaps is going to be the privileged one to be developed in due course of time as a cultural university. And all the three institutions of National Archives or the museum or the archaeological survey are going to come under one umbrella. And I hope in due course we will be able to achieve what we want to achieve. Thank you. इसको कैसे करना है?
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am, for the very interesting, wonderful presentation today. You laid down very important recommendation, as well as you informed us about the different initiatives that has been taken out by various universities and the national and international institutions. So all these things, in fact, gives us very important pieces of information about how archival record management and record keeping is being practiced in India and abroad. And this has indeed greatly helped us and all our audience to know how the archival practices has moved out in the 21st century in this age of digital revolution, in fact. And archives not simply are the renditions of the past, but in fact it is also with the help with the new digitization techniques and the new techniques that are coming up, it is gaining more meanings, in fact, slowly and slowly. And there are the different universities, institutions, in fact, all of them have a very important role in managing the records and keeping all this. So archives do have their own voices as well. So thank you, ma'am, for the very important lecture. We have a few queries from some of our audience. Dr. Anant Ashutosh Dwivedi sir is asking, he wants to know how we can interact our younger generation to safeguard the archival material.
How we can?
How we can engage our younger generation to safeguard the archival material.
You see, just as per my experience, The paper that has been introduced in our undergraduate uh, colleges under the UGC scheme, skill development scheme, you see, people they know and talk much about museums, but not about archives. And this we need to start right from the school education. And we need to introduce the subject in a project right from, I think, when we are teaching our social science subjects, we need to introduce our students to these kind of institutions. Museums, of course, they go because it's a public place and visuals are there. People are happy to see the things and they go according to the historically, the galleries are arranged in a museum. But so far as archives is concerned, of course, it's a restricted place and much higher kind of, of course, public outreach programs are being conducted by National Archives and other state archives or archival institutions by organizing exhibitions and opening, having weekdays program that you can say conducted tours. When they visit archives, they are taken around and under guided tours, you can say, and having some interaction with the school children also through some quiz and these kind of activities they do take place, but that is not enough. It should be part of their curriculum and they should have a feel and that what is archives are. Our history is such that we can develop these kind of tools as study material right from the school education. If we don't do it, I think we will fail in our mission. Because I find in the schools, the history is such a subject. They say, oh, it's a boring subject. You just do the ratification and they are not able to remember the dates and this. No, history is much more than that, you see. And particularly if we see besides modern, our ancient Indian history, medieval history, and our archaeological part, of course, I must say it's so interesting and the way now things are being developed. If we see one example of Rakigadi, heritage walks are there taking place, this is how we can orient our, younger generation particularly and make them, aware about the heritage that we are having a very rich heritage. And of course, we should not say that it's all mythology. No, we are finding so many things not just being supported in India but internationally. NASA is saying something, we can correlate, don't take it otherwise. That we are promoting one particular community or religion. No, we should take it as a heritage and try to see connectivity. Circuits are being like Buddhist circuits are there when we go around and visit these kind of places and we understand what kind of Buddhism was there, the kind of history we had. And likewise, also, we need to develop not only for Buddhism or for all these kind of that from the time, because history is history. We cannot ignore that aspect. And whatever is there, we should respect that and honor it and accept it as part of our history and promote and make our children aware and the young generation. And due course, I think they will respect each other. And of course, the harmony will be also there. We will respect our religion and whatever heritage we inherit. So we should make them aware. That is more important.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much. And really, if younger generation is being exposed to more of the archival materials, possibly they will have a more better, in a better way, they will celebrate their culture and heritage of the past. Ma'am, we have one more question from Manita Pandey. Ma'am, she's asking, uh, do we have any program for school students regarding archival awareness?
I don't think so. This our school curriculum of the CBSE. I remember when I was in National Archives heading the School of Archival Studies, I was once invited by CBSE to deliver a talk on archives and how they can use archival material for teaching the students, particularly at the class 2 stage. And I did deliver a talk, and many social science teacher, PGT and TGT teachers were invited by CBSE, and the talk was delivered. And Of course, I took the visuals also along with the important events that has taken place historically from the records that we have in National Archives. Because up to 1860, we have all handwritten records in National Archives of India. If you see Persian records, we have gold gilded manuscripts there. You see, or very Persian records in other vernacular languages also. And of course, printed records we get for a post 1860 period, and the oldest record dates back to 13th, 14th century. And we have Gilgit manuscript dating back to the 6th century AD also, preserved in National Archives of India, besides in Jammu and Kashmir. So these kind of things we need to tell our students, and NCRT books I have seen they are very good, and plus two stage, because they talk about archaeology, they talk about a museum, they talk about archives. But sadly, some of the teachers they are not serious to with our students. And if we take our school education more seriously, and teachers, of course, particularly, they have a greater role to play. And through project boards and given to these students, they attach with the archives. It's not only that the National Archive should be there, state archives are there, archives of the Union Territory, Delhi Archives is one of the very good archives, I must say. And other college universities can develop their own museum corners, their own archives, because any office, whether it's being established by a businessman or a private office, they generate records. So maintaining their own history is a very important aspect, you see. And our own colleges and institutions, if they can just simply give some attention, it's not, they can just engage their history students who are doing BA pass course and have history as a subject, or history honors course, or as in those, of course, they should have some basic material that they should understand, or they are duly oriented while they are undergoing this school education. At least from the sixth standard, at least that we can have this kind of education. And of course, we can upgrade the standard gradually, not it's overloading our students with that kind of education. We are teaching them, but need to be collaborated and attached with these institutions also, whether archives or museum or archaeology, because we are all part of history, and we all together constitute our cultural heritage. And we are maintaining the memory of the nation at the National Archives, and these are, institutions which tell us about our rich heritage that we have and we are so proud of. And they help us to develop our heritage tourism also. Because why we have international tourists visiting India? And they are developing a different kind of, world heritage sites. We have such beautiful cities, you see. And Jaipur, like we have so many other places, Ahmedabad, and such old cities, historically, they are so important. Business wise, also, they are so important. Even you can look at Chennai, you can look at Hyderabad, you can look at coastal towns, they are so rich in our, and particularly south in our temple culture that we have. The built heritage sites that we are maintaining to attract the international tourists. Not only our own people, of course, we should also, through our, LDC programs, we managed to visit so many places in the country. And while working in archives, we had the privilege and chance to go around and share our knowledge and information, promote our schemes and programs, and how we can help them through our granting aid schemes to maintain their museums and archives and colleges, their libraries, of course. And these are some of the things that we need to look into. And really, we have a lot of scope of employment also, in not only promoting tourism and culture, but also employment, to provide employment to young people, you see, if they get trained in these kind of course subjects, I must say.
Definitely, ma'am. The whole network of archives and all these things will open up various possibilities of tourism and archival tourism and many other things. And
Yes.
maybe in the field of school students, archival awareness
Just,
will be.
just sorry to interrupt you. When we go outside India, at the station, airport itself, we are provided one guide, sort of a guidebook, how to go about in the city. That includes archives also. Besides our, but in India it doesn't include archives. It doesn't include. It may include museums. It may include monuments, but it doesn't include archives, which we need.
Mm. Yes, ma'am. Some of these practices may be if incorporated in institutions and organizations in India will also
Mm.
promote tourism, world tourism, and in fact
Yes.
will definitely cater interest of foreign tourists as well. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so
Thank
much for the very interesting and informative lecture. At the end of this session, let me extend my vote of thanks to everyone present here. I, on behalf of Heritage Society and its large family that includes many thousands of followers from many different parts of the world who always joins us, I would like to express my vote of thanks and gratitude first to Dr. Meena Gautam ma'am for joining us in our today's lecture and providing us her valuable insights with us. Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining us.
Thank you.
Uh,
Thank you for giving me this opportunity to share my views, and I hope people enjoyed it and then get bored about my talk and things. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. I'm also extremely thankful to all the Virasat Mitra followers, audience. In fact, their support to our academic endeavors have always supported us in taking organizing more programs and taking lead in this weekly talk program and other sessions. I'm also thankful to our chairman and directors in fact, more important to Dr. Anant Ashutosh Dwivedi for organizing this program today. I'm very thankful to all of them. I'm also thankful to all our viewers on Facebook and YouTube for joining in today's session. Thanks to all of them. At the end, I would like to say, stay tuned with Heritage Society. We will have many more lectures in future
Yeah,
and
I will have
many
to.
more. Yes, ma'am. And so we will have many more intellectually engaged sessions. Thank you so much,
Mhm.
ma'am. Thank you so
Thank
much
you. Thank you,
for
everyone
joining.
who have been there. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much.